Good evening, everyone. My name is Sharon Preston Folta, and I'm a host at WSLR Radio and also a member of the Suncoast Women of Action. Welcome tonight to our WSLR Town Hall with Representative Michele Rayner, Florida House District 70, and this is co-sponsored by the Suncoast Women of Action. So a little bit about WSLR. WSLR Fogartyville is a center for creative expression and community engagement. We amplify the voices of our diverse community and promotes peace, sustainability, democracy, and economic and social justice. The Suncoast Women of Action, we promote citizens' engagement in the electoral process throughout every electoral cycle. And we also promote continuous active participation in government. Good evening, Representative Rayner. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you? I'm so happy to be here. I feel like this is old friends because we met during the election cycle.
That's right. And congratulations. This is the first time we've had a chance to speak since you won the election.
Yes, and I'm actually sharing the video on my page now, hopefully that people will be able to join and tune in because I'm excited about this conversation.
Well, excellent. Well, we're so happy to have you. And we thank you for making yourself available. And that's one of the things I really admire and like about you. You say you get out there, and you do. You get out there with the people. So how are you doing, and how has it been your first, couple of months in office?
Yeah, so it's been great. I mean, I will tell you that it has been definitely a learning curve. It has definitely been, but in a good way. As a lot of people know, that I was a former aide to Senator Ardenia Joyner, so I understood the process, but it's different in the process as an aide versus a member, right?
Right.
And so really being able to kind of hit the ground running. We have a great team of folks that work with me. And so I'm really excited, but it's been good, I think that it's still having to remember we're in a very challenging time. We're in a pandemic. People are still trying to get access to vaccine. People are still are being unemployed. Some folks are still trying to get access to their unemployment on unemployment benefits. We still have so many issues going on that, there really is no time to kind of just bask in the glow of being elected, but you really have to just hit the ground running. Sharon?
Okay, we're back.
Okay. I didn't know if it was you or me. Normally it's me. So I'm like, is that me?
No, the system has a mind of its own, but you were saying, so much going on. There's no time for you to bask in, just the fact that you've won and you're in the house.
Correct. And I think that, where we're at in this moment, it doesn't call for a figurehead leadership. It calls for folks who are going to be, bold and audacious, who are going to do what they need to do and hit the ground running. I mean, if it's about a title, this isn't really the job for anybody. It really is about, we have to get to work. We have serious issues that are facing, our state, and especially District 70. I often say when America gets a cold, Black America gets the flu. I would say that the same when, Florida gets a cold, District 70 gets the flu. We have a minority population. We have a lot of people in our district are frontline workers. They are, teachers. They are migrant workers. We have a huge elderly population. So we have all of the people that are disproportionately affected by COVID within our district. And so it's super important to me to make sure that folks know that they have a voice for them in Tallahassee, that I'm advocating. It wasn't just like I decided I want to be a state representative, but not doing anything with the title.
Gotcha. So what are some of the highs that you've seen, even though I know you're working, but there's got to be a couple of things that just make you smile, along with some of the lows that are happening that we'll talk about a little.
Yeah, some of the highs is that, we've been able to get, vaccination sites throughout the district. We have one that's happening in Newtown. We have one that is happening, that has happened in that happened in Palmetto and also in St. Pete. So those are the things that make me happy when I get text messages from friends and they're saying, hey, my grandma went to your site and they were able to get vaccine. That actually makes me really happy. And so it lets me know like the work is not in vain. And I know that it's obviously going to be hard during legislative session to get things passed. There's a majority of Republicans, so they have the numbers. In the House, it's not really about bipartisanship. It really is, do you have the numbers, right? And so, but being able to push the envelope on things that actually will affect people and their health has been really great to see.
So yeah, people are letting you know that, the information that you're giving them is working, and that,
Correct.
and they're able to reach out to you, because we lost a little communication there. I just wanted to
Yeah.
reiterate that.
So, just really saying, with the vaccination sites and all of the things that we've been able to do, it's people are letting me know that they're being able to access that, or they're being able to get access to, things that even unemployment. So those are the things that really excite me, that made me happy, because it lets me know that like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, that we're pushing the envelope further, we're meeting the needs of constituents. And so that's what definitely makes me super happy.
Fantastic. So we're getting questions in the chat, but what I want to do is just ask you a few questions, and then
Sure.
maybe around 6:30, 7:30, 7:35, we'll start taking questions. Okay.
Sure, not a problem.
So a big thing that's on everyone's mind is this new proposed anti-protest legislation, bill number 1. And
Yes.
as it stands so far, they're upgrading the penalties from illegal actions during riots, making it a felony to destroy any memorial in the state, limiting a city's ability to redirect funds from police to social programs. And oddly enough, this was filed on the day of the Capitol insurrection. So, it's troubling. Can it be stopped? And what can we do?
Yeah, so I want to provide a little bit of background on this particular bill. So this actually, the concept of this bill was actually proposed in October, and it was really the purpose of this bill. It was born out of the uprisings we saw in the summer due to Ahmaud Arbery's death, Breonna Taylor's death, and George Floyd's death. So out of all of that, this was the response to the Black Lives Matter movement. This is the response to when folks are saying stop killing us. And so, right. And I want to be very clear, like, you can be supportive of police, which I am. I'm supportive of good police. I'm supportive of good law enforcement. But when you have one bad law enforcement officer and the other 10 don't say anything, then what do we have? So this is what HB 1 was really born out of. And in the initial bill, the initial proposed bill, there was a stand your ground component. There was it was actually, if you can believe it, more problematic before than it is now, right? And it's quite problematic now. To your question, can it be stopped? Unfortunately, obviously it's going to come to my committee, Justice Appropriations. There's a part in the bill that actually discusses preemption of home rule, and I'll explain that. So, for example, if a local police department says, you know what, we are not going to need more funding, or we're going to take funding and instead of putting it into weapons or more officers, we're going to establish a mental health unit, and we're going to have social workers and counselors. Because of this bill, that could stop funding that could go to that police department, because the police department did not make a decision that's consistent with what this bill wants it to do. So now you have the legislature telling local government of how they need to, spend their monies. So that is a direct violation of home rule. And so, unfortunately, do I think it can be stopped? No. Do I think it's going to be challenged if it does pass constitutionality? 100%. I'm definitely not in agreement. I mean, I literally have Sharon, I want to tell you, and this is not an exaggeration. I think we last counted, I was at 3,500 emails of people telling me that they are not in support of this bill. I am not in support of this bill. I think that it is a solution looking for a problem. All of the issues, all of the crimes that are enumerated in this bill are already crimes on the statute. There's already penalties for it. So, one of the offenses gives a minimum mandatory of 6 months in jail. So when we think of minimum mandatories, that doesn't give a judge discretion to be able to deviate from that sentence. So, for example, if you are a first time offender, you've gotten in trouble for the first time, and then all of a sudden you're facing a 6-month mandatory in custody. And for people who've never gotten in trouble, people who've never had interaction with law enforcement, that can be devastating. That your whole life is over. And and just simply because you're protesting and maybe you're not even doing anything wrong, but someone who is wanting to cause a problem and who is saying that they're adjacent to your protest, they're actually the ones causing the issue. And it's been really interesting because I've been talking with law enforcement officers. I've been talking with NAACP officers. Folks don't like this bill. Even the people that you think would like this bill, they're not a fan of this bill because it starts to encroach on, home rule. It starts to encroach on, discretion by the state attorney. It starts to really encroach on things that I think are already outlined and set forth in the Florida statute that we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Right. Absolutely. Well, what can we do? Is there, short of, going out and actually protesting, what are some of the ways, right? But there have to be some ways that we can have our voices be heard.
So one of the things I would tell you, obviously, call and email your representative and your state senator, because this is also a Senate bill as well. So call and email your representative and state senator. I will tell you, unfortunately, there are some folks that will listen and that will have a conversation, and there are some folks that simply won't have a conversation. And I think that, however, it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure our voice is heard. And if you have someone that is not, voting consistent with what you've asked them for and consistent with what you believe, then there's other vehicles available to you, such as an election.
Right?
And you do what you need to do. And I'm not saying that where we start snatching people's seats away, but let me tell you this, and Sharon, this, when I was running, I said, listen, you have to hold me accountable. If I tell you I'm going to do one thing and I do another, you need to hold me accountable, and I can't be upset that you hold me accountable.
Right. So this is what we need to do, and everybody can have a voice and make it be heard and known. So this would be horrible if this thing does pass. So hopefully there is enough pressure that can push it back. I know it did get pushed back in Arizona, something similar like this.
Correct.
So hopefully it can happen here.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm not optimistic.
Right.
But I am hopeful. And so, I know myself and other colleagues, the Florida Legislative Black Caucus, we have been doing work around this. Our policy chair of the Democratic Caucus, Representative Finch's Driscoll, has been going on a speaking tour, has been engaging with Republican leadership on this. So, we are also doing what we can do in the legislative body as well, but also it is we the people. And so the people, if they are not happy with this, if they don't believe that this is a right bill, they need to do what they need to do by writing, calling, smoke signals, so I know initially in the first committee stop, folks actually drove from all over the state to actually speak against this bill in person. And I will tell you, the opposition to this bill was great. Of maybe 100 speakers, there was probably 5, 6, I would say no more than 10 that were in support of this bill. So to me, that would signal something to me, because guess what people are concerned about, Sharon? People are concerned about, can they feed their kids? If they send their kids to school, is there going to be an issue with COVID? Or if I'm teaching out of school, am I going to be infected with COVID? Or, hey, listen, like, I've lost my job because of COVID. Am I going to be able to feed my family? Knowing that when I'm talking to the food pantries here in the district, that they're seeing new faces every week. It's not just the same faces, it's new faces, and the lines are around the block. That's what people are concerned about. They're not concerned about HB1. This is a solution looking for a problem. They're concerned about, can they live a life that they can take care of their family, they can meet their basic needs, and that they can thrive as we try to see our way out of this pandemic.
And to that point, the employment situation in Florida, the minimum wage referendum and recent bills trying to water it down, where do you stand on this?
So, one, obviously, I'm in support of the minimum wage referendum that passed. And when over 60% of voters approved, I believe it was Amendment 2. Right now, I think there's a specific bill, Senator Jeff Brandes, he filed a bill, and it's a reduction for reduced minimum wage for folks who have come out of the correctional system, and workers who are convicted of a felony, and workers who are under 21, and other hard to hire employees. And I just, make it make sense to me. Like, why would we do that? His bill doesn't really define what hard to hire is, or it doesn't say what the reduced minimum wage would be. And I also think that you have to know that there are 1.5 million Floridians with felony conviction. And, and if we start talking about, the numbers, the Florida Department of Health says that there's over 794,000 workers between the ages of 16 to 24, and at least 182,000 of those workers are between the ages of 16 to 19. So if we take one part of his bill, that under 21, so they should not be eligible to get according to Senator Brandes, they should not be eligible to get the minimum wage that the voters, over 60% of the voters, said that they should. Hard to hire. We don't really know what hard to hire means. Mm-hmm. And if you're a returning citizen, or if you are, in the state correctional system and you're working, maybe doing work release, you once again should not be eligible for that. I don't understand why, because we understand this, and this is what I think is super important. And we understand that if people are able to have good jobs and are able to make a living for themselves, and $15 an hour, believe you me, is really no money. Like, if we really think about it in the grand scheme of things, but they're able to have a job, they're able to provide for their family, they're able to have upward movement. The things that we're concerned about, I think those things would be solved. And it's just so interesting that we want to say it's a hand up and not a hand out. There are people that want to work, but we got to give them options. And I understand, I'm a small business owner. I get that there's a concern about wanting to see how this will work in reality. But I will tell you, every time I always started every employee at no less than $15 an hour. And I will tell you, I was able to make payroll. I was able to do what I needed to do. And I feel like his proposal is very vague. It opens the door to discrimination. Mm-hmm. We understand that college students are more increasingly in debt. And so why would we not pay them more? And those who have already served their time, I believe there's a fair shot to turning their lives around. We have to treat human beings like they are human and no less. And Absolutely. So that is how I feel about that, Sharon. I feel very strongly about it. Like it upsets me because I know that there are so many people who are returning citizens who are saying, Miss Rayner, or, my clients, Miss Rayner or Rep Rayner, I'm just looking for that shot to be able to get hired and turn my life around. Why wouldn't we give people that opportunity?
We need to give people that opportunity because people just want to take care of themselves. They want to take care of their families.
Yeah.
And like you say, $15 is not a lot of money. So fighting on that and wanting to take that away is always wanting to keep the underclass. That's all that's about. So thank you for, continuing to fight for that. And, as far as people and opportunities for these people coming into Florida, what ideas or policies are available or things that you're thinking of to bring other businesses into the state?
Yeah, no, I think one of the things is that, I think to your point, our economy has suffered, increasingly across the board. And so we have a couple of priorities. One is getting everyone fully vaccinated, especially our seniors, our essential workers, our frontline workers, and our teachers. Also, I think that we have to have a real plan to reopen our state fully and safely as possible so our economy can get back on track and recovering. I think that we have to look at other ways that we are able to bring income into our state. Obviously tourism is what brings income into our state. That's what we rely heavy upon. But I think that there are other opportunities for our state to create more money. There's a film industry that we can look into. There's all of these other industries that I think that we have to be creative because, a pandemic really toppled our economy. And it should never be like this, right? And it toppled our economy, and we saw what was important to a lot of our electeds. I do want to also highlight Representative Angie Nixon out of Jacksonville. And I signed on to this letter. She actually sent a letter to the Department of Revenue here to asking, what corporations have they given tax breaks to during the pandemic, because we're seeing that corporations that are getting tax breaks and are getting, benefits when we're in the middle of the greatest public health crisis ever faced, in modern history. So there's a lot of things that we need to be looking into, but we have to be wanting to get creative. We have to be wanting to get serious, and we have to be willing to do things that we've never done before. And we have to be willing to making it about people and not what we can profit from.
Got you. And we are in the greatest health crisis in decades. We just unfortunately commemorated 500, right? And that's a milestone that we never thought we would ever reach.
And the sad part, it didn't have to be this way. It literally didn't have to be this way.
And the vaccines are, becoming more available. But what can we do in this area? I know in some areas they're opening up stadiums and larger venues. What can we do in this area to really take the giving of vaccines from where it is now, like just ramp it up 10 times? I know we have opportunities. I just don't think we're using them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that it has to be all hands on deck. I just saw Representative Daisy Morales out of Orlando. She sent a letter to the governor asking for 24-hour vaccination sites. We have to get creative. I think that, people are like, oh, that's a lot, but we have to get creative. Yeah. We're in an unprecedented, if I hear unprecedented time one more time, but we're in an unprecedented time. So we have to, unprecedented times calls for unprecedented measures. We have to make sure that it's accessible to everyone. We have to make sure that regardless of who you donated to or who you didn't donate to, and the letter D or R behind your name, that it's there, that, all elected officials get serious about it, that making sure that it's not limited to one or two zip codes. And making sure that every available use is is available. I will have to give, I do want to give credit to Director Jared Moskowitz, Florida Department of Emergency Management, and his team. They are working overtime. Every time I call them, I'm like, hi, I'm sorry to call you. They are working overtime. They have been a tremendous help to me in procuring some of these vaccination sites. But yeah, they have been a tremendous help to me. But they're only one team. We have to make sure that if we're gonna host pop-up sites, that the pop-up sites are equitable and that they have access for everyone. Well, I'm grateful that Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, and Miami are getting federal vaccination sites. But if you're in Manatee County, if you're in Newtown in Sarasota, that's a far place to drive.
Yes.
So we have to make sure that when we're doing it, and we understand that those are the biggest, urban centers in our state, that we still have to make sure that we're filling in the gaps for the other folks within our great state.
Well, I know in our area, the churches, have come together, and I know that this Sunday,
yes, that actually happened because I stayed on the governor's proverbial neck. I was on his neck. I sent him churches. I told him they had by 5 o'clock, and that was the church that they gave me. I think it's Light of the World Ministries.
Light of the World. That's right.
Yep.
Sunday, giving out vaccines. So it is happening. So thank you so much. And just one more question from me, and the chat room is filling up, so I want to get to some of those great questions. But I just read about the Republicans trying to privatize, still trying to privatize, but Bill 48, my goodness, that is just a crazy bill where they're, for children with disabilities and low to middle income families, they're giving them vouchers, and then they can kind of like choose courses, menu of items. It's, as crazy as I'm describing it is as crazy as it is.
And
Another
so that bill has not come across my purview yet, but I'm sure I sit on Health and Human Services. So all of the bills that kind of relate to any type of health will come across. And I will tell you, the ones that I've reviewed thus far have been interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, that's a word. Okay. So let me start getting to some of the questions. What is your position on SB 744?
Okay. So can someone tell me what the title of that is? Because if not, I'm going to look it up while we're talking. Hold on.
Okay.
And that's a Senate bill. So a lot of times you got to understand Florida Senate bill, SB 44.
744.
744. So a lot of times if the Senate bill does not have a House companion, I may not be able to. This is okay. You mean so this is probably not 2021. Sorry, I was looking because it does not have.
While you look that up, someone had asked, what committees are you on?
Okay, so I can tell you what committees I'm on. I am on Health and Human Services. I am on Public Health and Professions. I'm on Justice Appropriations. I am on Assurance and Banking, and I'm also on the Joint Select Committee on Collective Bargaining. So this is a bill that has to do with abortion, protection of paying capable abortion, signing for performance of induction of an abortion, circumstances required for physicians performing or inducing abortion to determine the probable gestational. I can tell you, I have not read this bill like in its entirety, but just anything that seems to limit. I can tell you. So that there is a House Bill 351 in the House. Yeah, no, I'm not with it.
Mhm.
Because any bill that is seeking to limit abortion, once again, it is a woman's right to choose. It is a woman's right to make the determination what she's going to do with her body. And, kind of having all of these different, I would say, conditions upon how a woman is able to get an abortion is still restricting her right to get an abortion if that is what she chooses to do. And I think that when we think about abortion rights, it's also a justice issue. I think that we have to also, and I'm a nerd, so we can get into the history of Black women and women of color when it comes to access to abortions and what that really means. So at this point in time, I wouldn't be able to be in support of that the House bill would be House Bill 351.
Gotcha. Yes. And someone also put that in, that House Bill 351. Here's another question. Why are they not having safer drive through compared to using the Sarasota Square Mall? So why aren't they using a safer drive-through compared to using the Sarasota Square Mall where 200 people are indoors at once?
And
Did the yeah
for the
did
is this for a
for the
vaccine site?
vaccinate? Yes.
So I would not be aware that that's more of a local issue. And so once again, it's that home rule where, the legislative body doesn't really get to tell the city or the county what to do. So I would encourage you to reach out to your county commissioner or your city commissioner, depending what governmental body that falls under. However, I do agree if it is safer, do it outside. I don't know why they would have done it inside. That's not something that I was keen making that decision.
Gotcha. Now this is a question about the Florida flag. Are you aware of any movement within the legislature to replace the Florida flag, one of two state flags remaining that have what seem like obvious references to the Confederate battle flag?
No, I'm not. And I will tell you, I have not been aware of any movement with regard to changing our state flag at this point.
Okay. I have, so there's a question on the Senate bill. So I'm going to let that go because let's see if I have more of an explanation.
I see the
Okay.
one about how about Senate Bill 72 and House Bill 7, which gave all
Yeah.
Florida businesses except medical providers an exemption for any liability for COVID infections they cause. Well, Tom, I also want to tell you that there is actually a House bill. It is a committee bill that actually it was heard in Health and Human Services last week, and it is a COVID medical liability bill. I actually voted it down. The reason I voted it down because it protected corporations, but didn't actually protect the actual workers and frontline workers and folks who would be actually at the heart of any lawsuit. Also, it didn't protect folks who could be harmed by bad actors. And there was a lot of, I felt like it was a bit of a rush. And the concern was, well, we know this bill isn't perfect, but we can come back and fix it. And my position was, well, if we know it's not perfect, why don't we get it right now before we try to push it through the legislature?
Okay, gotcha. Here's another question. This is in reference to reemployment. Okay, is there any way to move Rep. Exmani's bill, House Bill 207, reemployment assistance, to fix Florida's broken unemployment system?
Yeah, so Robin, that's a great question. I'm actually a co-sponsor of that bill. And so, one of the things that Rep. Escamani is doing, she's obviously has done her due diligence to talk to the chair of the committee to get it agendaed. I believe there was a press conference that's being held. I'm hopeful that it will be agendaed and it will at least get heard, because I think that no matter what side of the aisle that you sit on, we know that there's a real significant issue with unemployment that needs to be addressed now.
Okay. Again, what can be done to spotlight pay-to-play vaccination in our area, where rich Republicans get vaccinated and the minority community and lower-income residents are far less vaccinated?
Once again, that's a great question, and that's something that we've been raising, the sounding the alarm about. That's something that, if you follow me on Twitter or on Facebook, I have not shied away from speaking about. I've been in contact with the governor's office. As I've said earlier, I'm going to continue being in contact with the governor's office, also contact with Florida Department of Emergency Management, making sure that we can get more sites. But also the people in power have to know, because, I'm just a lowly state representative, but the people that actually can make the decision with a stroke of a pen or one email where the vaccination sites, they have to get serious about making sure that it's equitable. They have to get serious about making sure that it's not just for who I like or who likes me. And so, so I think that once again, what can be done, the work that I'm doing, but y'all, the people, we the people, not we the state representatives, not we the governor, not we the congressman or woman, not we the state senator, we the people, writing, talking, posting, all of the things, writing letters to the media, writing letters to the newspaper, writing letters to the governor, saying like, you cannot continue to do this. Our people are dying. And that's the argument I've been making. This is not a partisan issue for me. This is not a Democratic issue. This is not a Republican issue. This is a human rights issue. This is a medical issue. People are dying. So that is what I say. It's we the people. We the people. That is the way that we see the improvement when it comes to equitable access to the vaccine. I'm grateful that we have a federal government now that's reflecting a little bit more of we the people, but also we have to understand that we have to make sure that this happens on the state level as well.
Is there any way with, on the state level and at our level, can we reach out to the federal government to get more involved? I mean, there's opportunities for the National Guard to come in and really open up some sites. I mean, what can we do in that way?
Yeah, I mean, you have, a congressman, you have, so reach out to them. You obviously are senators, reach out to them, reach out directly to the executive office of the White House of the president. I would also encourage you to reach out to your county commission, county department of health, all of those. Like literally, I have a mindset, and this is what I always say in my law practice, and I say this, as a legislator, pressure busts pipes. And so how do we make sure that we can get the most equitable access to vaccines? We have to put pressure on people. We have to say we're not going to let up. And that's where I think that we the people have to do that.
Okay. And what can the Democratic Party do to support, your work at the state level and also at the county level?
I mean, I think that the Democratic Party, once again, I go back to we the people. I know it's like, dang, she's really redundant, but it's we the people, obviously, highlighting, uplifting the work that I'm doing, also letting me know what's going on so I can continue to advocate, us partnering. So if there's events, reach out and let me know, and, really just uplifting and highlighting, sharing, and you just the support. And because that's what's really important, to do. And so I think that once again, it comes back to we the people.
Okay, and I wanted to ask a question about climate change, because here in Florida, that's very important for us, no matter what part of Florida you're in.
Yeah.
It's important to our economy and also to tourism. So do you feel that President Biden's climate change policies are in line and helping to change and make change here in Florida?
I mean, I think that, President Biden has said that our economy and our environment are interconnected. And I think that that's very true in Florida, and especially in District 70. District 70 is connected, it's connected by water and bridges, right? And so one thing that's been done, his new orders has halted offshore drilling for oil and gas in federal water. So that is also, once again, a bipartisan issue that is dear to Floridians who adopted the constitutional amendment, the environmental, I believe it's Florida Forever 2018, to ban offshore drilling. And then I think that we have to get really serious in the legislature. And I'm happy to see there's been some bipartisan bills that are working to protect some of our, our pristine waters and our environment, and really getting serious about how climate change needs to be addressed by our state government. I really want to highlight that this, again, is not a partisan issue. This is not, you care about the environment because you're super D, or it is, you care about the environment because we all have to live here. Our kids have to grow up here. We have to breathe the air. And it's important to also understand that we even think about environmental justice and how we have handled the environment in certain communities and communities of color, how we have to really get serious right now about it.
Okay, I have a question on, climate. Will HB 283 state renewable energy goals be able to be moved in this legislative session?
So let me see. I'm going to look that bill up. I love that you guys ask numbers. I normally know about who files it. Let's see. Let's do it. This bill.
Mm-hmm. Our audience, they are in the know.
I can't even be mad. I love it. Here's the thing. Let's see. It's been referred. It looks like it has not been agended yet. So it is filed by Representative Anna Eskamani. It's co-sponsored by Yvonne Hayes Henson, Dottie Joseph, Carlos Gamer Smith, and Allison Tance. Here's the deal. Like, I would love for it to be moved. But Robin, I just would like for you to know the makeup of the Florida House at this point in time. So I think that we have to be very strategic about what we can get moved in this legislative body, right? And that is why it's so important, I think, that we elect folks that are aligned with our values, and we do all that we can to get them in office.
You can't overstate that. You really can't.
Yeah.
How can we attack conflicts of interest in the state legislatures, such as Senator Manny Diaz, going back to the education laws that help his for-profit company, Academica, and how can we defeat that bill, Senate Bill 48?
Yeah, so I don't know if Senate Bill 48 has a companion in the House, but I think that one of the things is really speaking it out, shining a light on it, and, making sure you elect folks who can serve on these different committees to be able to ask a question and to speak truth to power. Unfortunately, once again, you have to understand the makeup of the state House and of the state Senate. And once again, it's incumbent upon us, especially going back to that question about what can we do as a Democratic Party. We've got to, elect folks that align with our values. We've got to elect folks that aren't going to be sold out for 30 pieces of silver, because at the end of the day, it's not worth it. And so that is really one of the things that, unfortunately, that we find we're in this precarious situation in the state of Florida. We're in a precarious situation that we have to fight an uphill battle, and we have to, file legislation that we know that can get passed. But I also have filed dream legislation. I filed a bill to repeal stand your ground. Will it get a hearing? Absolutely not. And I know that, but I'm still going to file it to make a point of, this is what I told the people that I was going to do when I got elected. But I think that we have to get really serious, because I will say this, and I think that this is a safe place to say it. The Republicans are already out organizing Democrats. They already are. They're already out organizing. And we're still fighting. We're still fighting, trying to figure out what we're doing. We have zero money, and we're still fighting. So what are we going to do? I don't want to be sitting here, November 2022 crying because, now there is a super majority in the state house, or Congress has been lost and the Republicans were able to flip not only those 5 seats plus more, or the balance of the Senate has shifted. This is the situation that we're in. So to me, it's incumbent, what are we going to do? How are we going to understand the fierce urgency of the now? So we can talk about the bills, and some of them are really bad, really bad. But if we don't elect people and get serious about the job at hand of registering voters, educating voters, because you can register people all you want, but if you don't educate them and tell them why it's important to vote for city council, how does the city council affect your life? How does county commission affect your life? Hell, how does soil and water affect your life? Forget the state house. We can get there. How does soil and water affect your life? How does the clerk of court affect your life? How does the city council, county commission, then we start talking about the state house and state senate and Congress and the presidency. This is the fierce urgency of the now, because the writing is on the wall. And are we going to stand there and look at the writing and say, wow, that's really pretty, it's really bad, I hope it doesn't happen? Or are we going to take the pen and the paper in our own hand and rewrite the history?
And it absolutely can be done. I mean, let's just look at Georgia and all the activists on the ground there that flipped that state blue. You know, so and have to continue to work. I mean, it's not one and done.
Yeah, you have to continue to work. It doesn't just stop there. We have to continue to pick up the mantle. And, I want people to understand what happened in Georgia just didn't happen in one cycle. It took about 10 years of just relentlessly working, relentlessly putting in the work. And my friend said this about Stacey Abrams. She said, instead of getting complacent, she got mad. And when she got mad, this is what we saw that happened in Georgia. And, yeah, I believe it's possible in Florida, but we got to get serious about it. And it's not just one person. It wasn't just Stacey Abrams. There was a host of Black women in Georgia that have been doing this work for years when nobody knew them.
Absolutely. So, it absolutely can be done. Well, we're going to wrap it up. You've received a lot of thank yous in the chat. If you could see that, people are just thanking you for your commitment, for fighting, for being the voice. We're just really thankful for, the stand you're taking and what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I did want to answer the question. There was, what other bills have you filed this session? So I did want to address some of the bills I'm super excited about. Automatic voter registration. I was really excited about that. And then I found out they want to actually restrict our voting rights even more. So I filed deprivation of rights by public officers and employees, which is essentially an amendment of qualified immunity. I filed an urban agriculture bill. I filed the use or threatened use of force. So it's my repeal of stand your ground, which would actually restore it back to pre-2006. I also filed a repealer. So to repeal the marriage ban between persons of the same sex. As y'all know, that is very personal to me. And then also I'm really excited about the title is like not sexy at all. It's called Fees for the Enforcement of the Florida Building Code. But what it actually does is that it allows municipalities and county commissions that when they have building permits, it allows them to be able to use the profits from the building permits to actually use those profits to that surplus they have to actually go to affordable housing. So I'm super excited about those bills. That list is on myfloridahouse.gov. If you go to representatives and click my name, it'll show you sponsored bills and it's right there.
Okay, well, we got a couple more. Let's see. Love your energy, excellent energy. Have you sought endorsement of Our Revolution Florida? Progressive energy could truly bolster your efforts.
I was not aware of that organization, but I will most certainly look and see. Tom, we do have a newsletter. I think the first one is coming out hopefully this week, knock on wood. So you can email Amina, who is my legislative aide that does all of our communications, and it's Amina, AMINA .Spahic. It's SPAHIC at myfloridahouse.gov, and let her know that you want to be added to the newsletter, and she will do that for you. And I think she's somewhere in the chat as well.
Yeah, she answered when people were asking what committees were you on. She did answer that, and you answered it as I was about to read it from Amina. So she's right here. So Amina put her email there, and let's see. And what is your website and your social media handles?
So my website, my official legislative website is you go to myfloridahouse.gov, you go to representatives and you click Michele Rayner. But my website is michelleforflorida.com, which is my political website, my handles. So I am, my official office legislative Twitter is at Rep MKRG. My personal Twitter is at Michele for Florida. My Facebook is you just search Michele Rayner, and it'll pop up my personal in my legislative one, and then Instagram is Michele for Florida.
Well, let's hear one last word from you, Michele. What advice can you implore on us? I know we've heard you throughout that it is we the people, Yeah,
I would think, one piece of advice. I don't know if it's necessarily advice, but I would tell you this because I know for me, it can kind of get a little hard and a little hopeless for us to keep going. And when we get tired, lean into friends and lean into family, do some self-care, and then keep going. There are people that are depending on us. And when I say us, you don't have to be elected. You don't have, wherever your hand should find you, as my mother would say, you do that and keep going, because there are people that are depending on our very life in order to help push them forward. And so I would just keep the hope. I would keep moving and trust that it's going to get better. I think that we've seen the worst that it could get in this last administration that we've had. And I just believe that people are so much better than what we have seen, and we are going to continue to that. So I would tell you that just keep going and hope. And I feel like, and it's so weird, and Sharon, I know we got to go, but I'm like excited.
no, we're good.
It's so weird. It's so weird because remember when President Obama first ran, and it was that message of hope, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like in my soul that we're back there, and not necessarily nationally, but specifically within our state, right? It's a little dark right now. It feels like everywhere we look, there's an assault on our freedom. There's an assault on our voting rights. There's an assault on our very humanity. I tweeted the other day, I said, do you know how it feels to be told in every conceivable and inconceivable way that your life does not matter? But yet, and still, there's hope. Because I believe that there's enough moral-minded people, regardless of what you box in as your party affiliation or what you look like or who you love, that will do the right thing and that will push our beautiful state forward. And so that is what I hold on to. When it gets dark, when it gets rough, when you're like, you know what, I don't have to do this. I don't have to be here. I could be doing da 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 da. But yet you continue still, because I believe that our state is destined for great things if we all do this together. So that's my advice.
Absolutely. Just don't give up. Keep
Hope.
going. When you get tired, take a breath and then get back to
Keep
it.
going. get back to it. And I'm preaching to me.
Yeah. No, that excellent advice. Well, I can't say it any better than our last write-in, Mahario.
It's
This was
Marielle.
Marielle. Okay, this was awesome, and we thank you so much. I love your energy, and I enjoy speaking with you anytime. Thank you
Sharon,
so
you know I
much.
love y'all. You know I love y'all at WSLR. So thank you for having me always. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Y'all know you can always hit me up and I'll jump on.
Okay, and then just hit us up if you got something to say. Just let us know.
Exactly. I will do. I will do. Thank y'all so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for all the great questions. And we really appreciate our audience. We appreciate you, Michele. Thank you so much. Everyone,
Thank
have a
y'all.
good
Take care.
evening.
Have a good night, y'all.